Says an error occurred. There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Please do post a comment and tell us where you are in the world. I love to see where my audience is from. I'm Catherine Mattice. I'm the founder and CEO of Civility Partners. We are an organization focused on building positive, thriving work environments. We do that through coaching, training, and workforce surveys. Super excited to have Holly Jean Jackson today. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Holly, you're a peak performance and peak revenue consultant. And one of the ways that we need to help our employees thrive and our organizations thrive is by having revenue. And peak performance, I know, refers to more than just the bottom line. So I'm very excited to speak with you. And just to tell the audience, she's got a TEDx talk called on the Fear Method, which I'm definitely going to ask about. And you're an author and podcast host of Inspiration Contagion. That's awesome. We're going to have to talk about that too.
Happy to talk about all the things, all the good
we only
things.
have a half hour. We better get started. So talk to me about peak performance. What does that mean? And what's your process? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when we're talking about peak performance, kind of the overarching theme is what I used to do in more of the holistic space is having health, clarity, and balance and in business as well, right? So if you don't have a healthy staff, healthy workforce, healthy leaders, you can't do anything. Your health is your wealth. And if we haven't learned anything from the pandemic, hopefully this has been dialed through our thick heads as humans. You need your health. Beyond that health, clarity, and business arc at kind of the high level, we dig into 5 areas when I work with clients on really optimizing peak performance. And we also dig into the revenue across those 5 key areas. The first one is their lead generation. How can we streamline that? How can we dial in your niche, your messaging, all of those things? And then the second part is your sales process. A lot of people have these negative relationships around money. It feels dirty. It feels gross. So there's some mindset things as well as some process things we can do to set you up for success. The third area is your client experience. If we're not creating an incredible customer and client experience, how are we going to get referrals? How are we going to keep them? And we don't want to keep spending money on getting those clients and then losing them left and right. Mm-hmm. The fourth area is your employee experience. Your employees are a direct reflection of your reputation, who you are. They work with your clients. So if they're not set up for success, going back to health, clarity, and business, then of course your client experience will suffer. And then the fifth part is legacy and business optimization. And this is what I love talking about. A lot of the business owners that hire me have ideas or they've already started charitable donations, foundations, or nonprofits that they're business funds. So I'm here to help heal the world by helping business owners that are doing good get more revenue so that they can give more back. And so it's about creating that legacy, finding employees and clients that want to be aligned to that legacy to do more good and do more healing in the world.
I love that. That's awesome. And I think you're probably the only business coach I've heard have that piece. There's lots of coaches doing revenue and lead generation and all of that. And I love that you've added that piece or have that piece. And I'll also say, you're probably the first business coach I've met that talks about the sales stuff and employee experience, and it is very holistic. So that's really awesome. Kudos to you. I mean, not that I know everyone in the world, but I've not met someone like you. So I know a lot of people. So give us an example. What are some, when you're working on that fifth piece, when you're working with a client and they've already maybe started doing that good, how do you dial in on that fifth piece?
Yeah. So when we're looking at legacy, if we look at the landscape of our world and our society today, we have never has social consciousness and social awareness been more important. People today and constituents and our clients, they're buying and voting with their dollars. So if you have a cause, a charity you're supporting, or a foundation or a nonprofit that's important to you, and it's authentically aligned to something that you're trying to do good in the world with, when we can then create a story around that where every single purchase, 10% of that goes to, plug in the dot there. It could be giving more clean water in Africa. It could be supporting students in a specific area, part of the world. It could be giving young children access to entrepreneurship skills instead of just going to higher education. It could be providing sustainable products around the world or doing good for saving the planet. Whatever that is, it allows people to connect with your cause, and it allows them to be part of a legacy. And who doesn't want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves, doing positive things in the world? So if there's kind of like they're about to purchase, but then you also have this cause behind it, that's going to push them over the edge, because that's what makes you unique, and it helps them be part of something bigger while also solving the problem that they have.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's kind of down to two different proposals the client's looking at, that maybe they would choose the one that's doing some additional good by donating based on their revenue and what have you. So going back to revenue, I know you often work with clients around where they might leave revenue on the table, and I would love to hear more about that. Where am I leaving revenue on the table? I got my pen and paper.
So this is what we call the show me the money part of the show, which everybody wants, right? Show me the money. So a lot of people who are business owners who are new or they've hit a plateau in their business, they're typically leaving money on the table in, well, really one of four areas or a couple. When you're getting started, it's frequently your lead generation process is broken, and you don't understand that you actually might have a sales problem and not a lead generation problem. A lot of new business owners come to me and say, "Hey, Holly, I have a lead generation problem." Okay, but I ask them some questions. They actually have a sales problem, because they're booking calls with people that are ideal prospects, but they're not converting those into clients. That's not a lead gen problem. That is a sales problem. And so we want to dig in to fix that. So a lot of people, and I would say probably every single person listening to this, can improve their sales process a little bit to increase those percentages, unless you have like a 100% conversion rate, which is obscene and does not exist. You can improve. And anything below, I think it's like 10% is, you really need a lot of help. So that's one area where we're leaving a lot of money on the table. Another huge mistake people make, and this is when you're new, you've been at this for a long time, people take for granted their customer experience. And it's so important. I don't know why we do this. We kind of get comfortable, or we grow too fast, or we don't have the right systems in place. But when you don't support your customers and stay current on where your niche, your clientele needs help, and what the next solution is that you can solve because of your superpower in business, you're leaving so much money on the table. These are people that already know, like, and trust you. They've been with you for a while. They might be referring business to you. And when you don't optimize that process, you're leaving loads of money on the table. So those are just three ways that people are leaving money on the table. And they're the biggest areas that we can plug those profit leaks really quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've been doing a lot of internal stuff this year. It's been the year of looking inward and upgrading our processes. We've got more people involved in moving things through the process, and definitely in terms of scaling as well. We had a hiccup early in the year, and realized that I realized I was never going to scale to where I want to get with the way things were. So it was a good hiccup that we learned a lot, and I can attest to that. And that having those systems in place and making sure people are getting what they need. And I would say we do pretty good at once we have a client they keep buying things from us. So I think we already had that, but I'm pretty proud of us. We've had a year of major growth internally. So it's awesome. So thank you for sharing that. When you're working with clients around what they think is the lead generation problem, and then it turns out it's a sales problem, what are there maybe like the top 2 or 3 things that you often see that keep showing up when you're looking at the sales problems that you're helping clients through?
Yeah. So one of the big problems that, especially for folks who are newer to the sales experience, I don't think people realize that you have to ask for the sale many times. And there's I think a statistic, it's 80% of the sales closings, I can't speak today. 80% of sales closures happen after you ask 8 to 10 times. So why are you thinking that you're failing if on the call you've asked 4 times because you pushed through some objections and then they still say no? Unless they actually say, hey, I don't like you or I don't need this, that's not a no. So one, it's kind of knowing what is an actual no. It's understanding how to handle objections and how to get really comfortable asking for the sale multiple times. People really struggle with this. And in particular, folks in the service industry, and especially in the healing space, if you're doing anything around therapy or healing or physical therapy, people in that particular genre and industry struggle around more of a mindset thing with money. So if it's not the asking multiple times and pushing through objections, the second big thing is there's oftentimes a mindset issue. And if you have a mindset issue around money, it doesn't matter how many times you ask. It's going to feel icky to the person you're asking because it's going to be completely out of alignment. Because if you feel like it's naughty or dirty or wrong to charge for your service, or you're charging too much, people can feel that in a conversation. You have to be confident, rock solid, excited to work with them, and that comes across energetically. And so the other exercise I take folks through, and you can, if you're listening right now or on replay, you can hit pause after I go through this exercise and do this. But I want you to write a letter to money. And I want you to pretend money is a person. And I want you to write every single thing you think about money, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything you think about money, everything. And don't think about it. Don't overthink it. Just write it all out. And then hit pause because I don't want you to overthink the next part. After you do that letter to money, I want you to have somebody read it back to you and pretend you are money, that person. How does it feel to receive all of the stuff you think about money as that person that's embodying money? A lot of us have a lot of yucky thoughts and beliefs around money. And until we become aware of that and start shifting that, we're never going to achieve the financial and wealth goals that we have. And that takes time. It takes working with somebody who's an expert in that area. And it doesn't matter how dialed in the process, the structure, the script is. If we can't get that right, you're never going to hit those goals.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. I think we will do that. We have a visioning leadership meeting coming up here. I think we'll do that exercise. So thank you for that. That sounds
You're
great.
welcome.
And I can say, just for anybody listening who feels like selling and money is icky, I've had my business for 14 years. It's taken me a really long time to get to the point I'm at where I'm very comfortable. And I wish it had taken me a lot less time, but my journey around that has really been recognizing that I'm not even really selling. I am just hearing their problem and offering up my solution. And I believe in my solution because all these, after all these years, especially, I have lots of proof that my solutions work. And I think just that confidence around, like, I know you need this, is really helpful and especially if you're in the holistic space of therapy or anything. Like, I know I can help you. Come work or come, let me help you. Let me be your partner in this journey you're on. For if you're a therapist, for example, I think, it's been kind of life-changing for me just to be like, you need me, and any other consultant you choose will not do the job the way that I will do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing too, is that as you get better at this, as long as you're, making the right strides in the right direction, sales is really ultimately about relationship and it's about supporting someone. So when you're able to reframe the sales conversation and money around that, it opens up such a huge door of opportunity where I love sales calls. To me, a sales call is an opportunity for us to build a deeper relationship, for us to discover if we're a good fit, if we have good chemistry. If you don't trust me, you don't like me, we should not work together. And that's totally fine. My job on the sales call is to get you to a yes or a no. Yes, you need this, or no, you don't.
Yeah.
Yes, you like me, you know, like and trust me, or no, you don't. It's that simple. And is
Yeah.
it going to hurt my feelings if you're not a fit? Absolutely not. Because as you know, I'm sure, Catherine, the worst thing is when you onboard a client that is not a fit. It is
Mhm.
just so painful. And so it's equally important to get those no's and to give people permission to say no.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the mindset too, is recognizing you know, if you're newer, it's harder to maybe understand how this works or even feel comfortable thinking this way. But at this point, I'm very like, I'm also sussing you out. This is, you know, it's like a date here. This is not, I hope you like me and will pay for my services. It's, I have a lot of questions for you. I need to understand where you guys are at. Does the CEO buy into this? And we're a lot easier to say, we're not your fit. We're not your partner. We have different, you know, this isn't going to work from our end. We can see it's not going to work. And that helps too, to kind of feel that power that I'm not here to sell myself. I'm here to suss out where you're at and if I think we should work together as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really an opportunity and a conversation to discover if the problem and pain point your prospective client has is something that you are well suited to solve. And if not, then, you know, you're like, it was great meeting you, but this is not the best fit. Here's some other resources that I have. But additionally, I help my clients identify at least 3 to 5 of their requirements and deal breakers for prospective clients so that they never break that rule. And, you know, for me, it's, are you willing to take action?
Mm-hmm.
Action that's uncomfortable, because it's a partnership. I don't just coach, I consult, but I don't want to take on clients that aren't equally committed to the partnership because they're not
Exactly.
going to be happy, you
Right.
know? And they're not going to get the results. I want action takers. So that's one of my non-negotiables. If you're just going to sit there on the sidelines and give me excuses, don't work with me. It's not
Yeah.
going to be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And also thinking about the future of that, like this, it goes against my brand. If you're unhappy because you're not doing the work on your end, then you're going to tell people, oh, I worked with Holly and it wasn't that great, or I worked with Civility Partners and it wasn't a good experience. And so we don't want to have that happen. So yeah, best to be like, we're not a good fit, but here's a referral for you, or, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
I love this conversation. This is good stuff. So one of the things you do, well, I want to go back to your TEDx talk. What is the fear model? Do tell.
Oh, this is good stuff.
Okay.
Take notes, and also watch the Fear Talk. You can just Google Holly Jean Jackson TED Talk, or Catherine can put it in the link as well. So essentially, I did a TED Talk on navigating this new era of uncertainty, and I developed a 4-step process that's the fear method. And the fear method spells out, it's an acronym for the 4 steps for facing not just fear, but uncertainty, adversity, pain, any difficulty or challenge that you're facing. So F stands for face it. You know, a lot of times in life when we are diagnosed with something, we have a struggle, we're really scared of something, we deny it. We're kids, we hide ourselves under the covers and
Yeah.
we think it'll go away. If we deny it, it's not there. Well, the reality is you're hurting yourself more, you're stuck, and it's just going to keep being this persistent, gross thing that grows until you face it head on. So F is face it. The E in the fear method is to embrace curiosity. So instead of denying it, like, let's look at this from a really curious perspective. Let's look at, why are we afraid of this? Like, what lesson can we learn from this situation? And if we look at it from a slightly different perspective, what insight might we gain?
Mm-hmm.
Could we lean on other people in our community to get creative? So that's what the E stands for. The A stands for advocate. And there's also a second one that's not part of the TED Talk. So it was a very short parameter we had of activate mindset. So advocate for what you want and need and be clear on what that is. Tell your loved ones, your community, your clients, your business partners, advocate for what you need and want. And if you don't know, step back, get quiet, and figure out what that is. And the second A, which is a bonus for those of you listening, is to activate the right mindset.
Mhm.
You can't navigate transformation, challenge, uncertainty, fear unless you are thinking in the right lens. So
Mhm.
instead of being afraid, try to switch that to the right mindset of what can I learn? I'm going to grow from this. This is a great opportunity for me to dig into creativity and curiosity. Switch that perspective and try to not go down this negative spiral where I think of like Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit going down the hole, and it's all these negative thoughts spiraling around you. Stop
Mhm.
that and go positive. And then the R is to reach out to your community for support. It is very scary to face anything alone. And I faced in my TED talk a bear in the woods. And I'm very grateful to be alive and to be able to share that story.
Wow.
But if I wasn't alone, it would have been a lot less scary. Granted, I'm here to tell you if you're facing some big uncertainty, a big health diagnosis, a big change or pivot in your business, it's a lot easier to navigate that when you bring people alongside you. That's why
Mhm.
my book and the podcast, the theme of that is around a campfire, because healing and growth and transformation happens in circles. So I want you to reach out for the support that you are then going to advocate for what you need. So face it, embrace curiosity, advocate and activate the right mindset, and reach out for support. If you take all these 4 steps on, there's nothing that you cannot face head on.
I love that. That's definitely all the resilience and bouncing back and positive psychology. And I love it when people like you are able to create an acronym that makes it easy to do. And going back to my hiccup, earlier this year, that's exactly what we did. It was like, okay, this stinks. Where did we go wrong? Let's debrief. Why did this happen? And let's get curious about what we need to do next. And I feel like as a team, we did those steps pretty good and we got through it and we're better for it. So that's the thing about resilience. It's fascinating that you faced a bear in the woods. I'm definitely going to have to watch your TED Talk because it's a great metaphor too. Like we all have big, hairy, scary bears in our life that we have to face. So it's like you were meant to do that. You were meant to.
Yeah.
It's such a good metaphor for life and business too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, when I speak on stages, people always want the bear story, and so I like to open with the bear story, and basically it's like whatever bear you need to charge head on in your life today, I'm here to
Yeah.
tell you, I've charged a real bear. If I can do that, there's nothing in your life and business that you cannot charge head on today with success. Like it's very possible. These
Yeah.
simple 4 steps will allow you to do that, and it works. And what's interesting is I think that what we teach in the world is also the medicine that we need. And as a rock climber as well, when I'm climbing a wall or a route that's super scary, I have to use my own metaphor. I'm
Yeah.
like, I remember when I got lead certified, which for those of you who are not rock climbers, it means the rope's not at the top. It means you're leading the rope up and it's a bigger risk or a bigger fall if you make a mistake. And I remember having to use the fear method for my first practice fall. And I'm holding onto the wall and I'm like, oh, I don't want to let go. I don't want to. I'm like, Holly, you faced a bear in the woods. You wrote a talk on the fear method. Face this. Okay, this is scary, but you have the gear. People are going to catch you. Okay, like what can we learn? Like, so I literally practice what I'm preaching in the fear method and it works really, really well.
I love that. I love that. Well, do you have any, and we haven't had any questions, feel free to ask. You've got a business coach here available to ask questions. And while we see if anybody has any, what final kind of thoughts for us do you have? What should we go and do right after this LinkedIn Live that would be really important for us, or maybe have a high impact on our revenue if we did something small today? What should that be?
Well, I mean, right now we are facing a lot of uncertainty in the economy, uncertainty in the world. Things are changing rapidly, even post pandemic. So, one of the things I've been working with a lot of clients on and had a lot of questions in my monthly networking community around is how do you diversify your revenue stream so that you have that stable cash flow over time?
Mhm.
And so I think getting creative of where are you putting all of your eggs or too many of your eggs in one basket? And that could be for your lead gen. If you're leaning heavily on LinkedIn, how can you diversify your lead gen to other platforms so that if, God forbid, the algorithm changes, you're in LinkedIn jail, you're still safe? And equally importantly is tapping into having some super thinking space, what I call it super thinking time, where instead of working in the business, you step back and you work on the business and you think very strategically about your existing clientele, your existing problems that you're solving, and then look at the change of the landscape and what's happening in the world today and seeing if there are opportunities for additional services, packages, or bundles that you
Mhm.
could offer that's going to offer a huge win while also possibly diversifying your revenue streams through partnerships or affiliates, et cetera. So I think right now is a really good time to face head on the fact that we are going through massive transformation and change
Mhm.
globally, in the US, around the world. Crazy things are happening. So, how can you leverage that creativity and diversify all of the five areas: your lead gen, your sales process, your customer experience, your employee experience, and your legacy in a way where you can navigate anything that life throws at you?
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You obviously know what you're talking about. This that was really awesome. I really appreciate the nuggets, and I know we spent some time earlier this year just giving examples of all the things you're saying, looking at profitability of clients, and then kind of deciding where we could add some more things to increase the profitability. So that was a good exercise for us. Ooh, we have a question. Elizabeth wants to know, how can she move from one career path to another? What thoughts do you have?
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to actually do career coaching before I ended up doing more of the revenue and performance consulting. So if you're trying to move from, you said payroll to HR, part of it is really just getting curious and doing some research around what are the different skill sets you would need to shore up to be an acceptable candidate and stand out from the crowd for that. I also think you should start networking into companies you'd be excited to work with, or if you're at a company and you just want to transition roles, start networking with folks in the department you want to work in. Just like in business, warm leads and warm prospects are much more likely to say yes. So
Mhm.
the more you can build warm relationships for that career shift, that job shift, the more likely it'll be a smooth transition. And you can even just take those folks out for coffee or buy them lunch and ask them, I'm really interested in a career shift. What are some of the skills that I would need to get, or the classes or certifications I might need to have so that I would be a successful addition to that team and create that win win? So I'd start looking at that and really building those relationships, because ultimately with a career change, it's selling yourself as a win-win for that role, that team, and for those customers that you'll be supporting in that new position.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. Informative interviews, even now, I still do those. I did a lot of them when I started, and yeah, just meeting people and finding out what advice you can pull in and what resonates with you. Well, thanks again for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I encourage everyone to reach out. Holly's website is hollyjeanjackson.com. And I really appreciated how clear and concise you come through when you're talking about this stuff. I think sometimes people kind of talk all over the place. It just means you clearly know your stuff because you're so just like, here's how it is. So
I have been doing this for a while, and before I went on my own, I was doing it at big companies like Visa and Treasury Wine Estates and big places. So it was kind of an executive worldly MBA of how to do this in a different way. And yeah, I just love working with small to medium sized business owners so that we can have more diversity of services and offerings in the world. And there's not the best platforms for small to medium sized business owners regarding technology and other things. And so I like taking that corporate experience and being able to translate and transpose that for people that want to do that in the small and medium landscape without spending millions, which
Yeah.
corporates can do. Yeah.
Exactly. We actually have a lot of questions about HR. There's one that's not about HR. If you have a couple minutes, Holly, because I know we're at time,
Sure.
but I'm going to let you answer this question.
All right. Does integrating spirituality and human conscious approach play a part in making business more soulful and rejuvenating? How can we implement this approach? Great question. I am so glad you asked this. Tapas Bali, nice to meet you in the online world. So one of the things that I do with my clients when we start working together, and I'll offer this as a free gift to you guys, I'll give the link to Catherine to share later after the show, is your life and business compass. Now, in this, what you're doing is you're digging into your top 5 life priorities and not just like on the surface writing those out, but mapping out what successfully living out those priorities looks like. If your family is important, is that spending 3 hours a day with them? Is it spending a full weekend day with them? What does it look like? And then also putting together your only three quarterly business goals. And I know for those of you in the entrepreneurship space, it's really, really hard to dial it down to 3, but I want to challenge you to put just 3 together and make them actionable, reasonable, have metrics and deadlines on them so that they're very specific and clear. Additionally, across the top of that compass, which you'll have the link to, I want you to think about your big motivating factor, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. If you made that change, that's the legacy you want to be remembered for. So, for example, that could be for me, building a nonprofit for children, especially 13 to 16, where they get access to entrepreneurship skills, really good well-being skills, mindfulness skills, so that they have alternative options for creating their business versus going to college, but also supporting them to boost their confidence over time while partnering with education systems. So being able to help these future brilliant minds be successful is my big motivating factor.
Wow.
So I want you to put that together. And when you have those things, you're then going to print it, use it as a screensaver, use it as wallpaper. And what that does is it helps you stay in tune with, at a soul spiritual level, why you are here, and then say yes to only things on your compass, and everything else gets a very kind but no, a firm no, because ultimately we have limited time and limited energy. And I want you to only be saying yes to the things that are going to get you 1%, 10%, 100% closer to those long-term and short-term goals, versus depleting your system and soul doing things that are taking you further away from where you'd like to be.
That's a great answer. So definitely send us that and we will post it. And it looks like, so Farah, I'm going to run through these questions quickly. So Farah is asking about moving from one industry to another. I think the answer is the same for what we said for Elizabeth, to just start getting curious, doing informative interviews. That's what LinkedIn's for. It's a great way to meet people, to say, hey, I'd love to chat with you about your role. People love to talk about themselves. So I think
They do.
It's great. Another question AJ is asking is about what the difference is between an HR generalist and an HR business partner. I'm happy to answer that. A generalist is generally lower on the hierarchy and is doing all the things and could be doing everything from payroll to benefits to onboarding to recruiting. An HR business partner is someone who's more strategic and is partnering with the business to figure out what's the business goals and how can I help from an HR perspective, the business reach its goals. So hopefully that helps. So we are out of time, and I appreciate, again, Holly, it looks like everybody's loving your comments and everything today. So reach out. You can reach her in LinkedIn, or you can go to her website, hollyjeanjackson.com. And thanks again for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And everybody, take big action that matches the size of your dreams, because you only have one life.
Wow. I gotta